Your iris stopped blooming 2 years ago. Your lilacs skipped this entire season. Your peonies gave you half the flowers they used to. And your mums are going to collapse sideways in August like they do every single year. You blamed the weather, you blamed the soil, you blamed the variety. But every one of those problems has the same cause. A 5-minute task you did not do in June. There are 8 of them, 8 plants you almost certainly own, 8 tasks that take less than 5 minutes each. And 7 of them have a window that closes in the next 10 days. After that, you wait 12 months for the next chance. Your iris gets worse. Your lilac skips another year. Your mums flop again. Same problems, same frustration, same confusion about what went wrong. I am going to walk you through all 8 in order of urgency, starting with the one that cannot wait another day. I have been gardening for over 30 years, and for the first 10 of those years, I watched my perennial beds slowly decline without understanding why. Plants that bloomed like crazy the year I put them in would fade a little more each season. I would stand there in July staring at a clump of iris that used to stop traffic and wonder what I was doing wrong. The answer, every single time, was June. I had skipped something in June. A neighbor of mine had the same iris variety I did, same street, same clay soil, same rainfall. Hers bloomed 3 times as heavy. The difference was 20 minutes she spent every June that I did not. Once I learned what those 20 minutes were, my entire garden changed. I have not had a single bloomless season since, and everything I am about to walk you through is exactly what that neighbor taught me. One task at a time, across several Junes, until I finally stopped losing flowers for no reason. If you are finding this useful, I would appreciate it if you passed it along to someone whose garden needs this information right now, because the clock on most of these tasks is already running. Here is what most gardeners do not realize about June. May gets all the attention. That is when you plant. July gets all the watering. That is when you maintain. But June is the month that determines whether your garden thrives next year or quietly falls apart. The work is invisible. Nobody writes about it. Nobody posts about it on social media. There are no pretty pictures of someone dividing iris rhizomes or snapping garlic scapes. So the tasks get skipped. And 12 months later, you are standing in front of the same declining plants, wondering what changed. Nothing changed. You missed the window. That is all. Every single task I am about to walk you through takes less than 5 minutes except one. And even that one is 20 minutes. The total investment for all 8 is under an hour. 1 hour in June that separates a garden that improves every year from one that slowly, quietly gets worse. The lilac problem I mentioned at the start, the one most gardeners accidentally cause themselves every single year, that fix is coming up third. And it applies to 5 other shrubs you probably own. Let me start with the most urgent one, bearded iris. If your bearded iris bloomed less this year than last, or if the center of the clump has gone bare while the edges still push out a few flowers, the rhizomes are overcrowded. This is not a disease. It is not bad soil. It is a clump that has outgrown its space, and the only fix is dividing it. The only time to divide bearded iris is the 4 to 6 weeks immediately after they finish blooming. That window is open right now. In most zones, it closes by mid-July. Here is exactly what you do. Dig the entire clump with a garden fork. Shake off the soil. You will see a tangled mass of thick rhizomes, some firm and healthy, some soft or hollow. Cut them apart with a clean, sharp knife into sections, each with one fan of leaves and a firm rhizome about 4 inches long. Throw away anything soft, mushy, or showing signs of borer damage. Those little tunnels and sawdust-like frass inside the rhizome mean borers have been feeding, and replanting damaged rhizomes just spreads the problem. Trim the leaf fans to about 6 inches tall, a short triangle shape, so the wind does not rock the new transplant loose before roots establish. Then replant each division about 18 inches apart with the rhizome sitting right at the soil surface, not buried. The top of that rhizome must be visible and exposed to sunlight. Burying iris rhizomes is the single most common reason transplanted iris fails. It causes rot. Water wants to settle the soil and leave them alone. I divided a clump of immortality reblooming iris 3 years ago. The original clump had given me 6 flowers the previous spring. After dividing, I got 9 separate plants from that one clump. The following June, those 9 divisions produced over 40 blooms, from 6 flowers to 40, from 20 minutes of work. But if you skip this, if you let that clump sit another year, the center dies further, the borer damage spreads, and you end up with a ring of sparse flowers around a dead bald spot. I see those dead center iris clumps in every neighborhood I walk through. Every single one is a clump that has not been divided since it was planted. Zones 3 through 10, full sun, and the rhizome must be visible on the surface. That is the entire rule for iris. Now, peonies. Your peony blooms are finished. Those brown, soggy heads sitting on your bush right now are doing one thing. They're trying to make seeds. Seeds nobody wants, seeds that will never become plants worth growing, and every calorie of energy that goes into making those seeds is energy stolen from the root crown that produces next June's flowers. Cut every spent flower head off at the stem. Takes 5 seconds per plant. But here is the part that matters more than the deadheading. Do not touch a single leaf, not one. Leave all the foliage standing until it dies naturally in fall. Even if it gets fungal spots, even if it looks messy, even if you want to tidy up the border and those big, floppy peony leaves are driving you crazy. Those leaves are photosynthesizing right now, feeding the underground crown, building the energy reserves that determine how many buds form for next spring. Peonies are long-lived perennials, zones 3 through 8, and a well-maintained plant can bloom for 50 years or more from the same root crown. But that crown depends entirely on summer foliage to fuel each spring's performance. A friend of mine cut her peony foliage to the ground every July because she hated how it looked by midsummer. She could not understand why her blooms got weaker every year. She went from 30 plus flowers per plant down to 8 or 9. The year she finally left the foliage alone through fall, the following spring gave her 22 blooms per plant. One season of leaving the leaves changed everything. The leaves are doing the work you cannot see. Deadhead the flowers. Leave the leaves. That is the entire rule. 2 plants down. And so far the pattern is the same. Energy that should go one place is going somewhere else because of a task you either skipped or did wrong. The next one breaks that pattern. Because with your lilac, the problem is not what you skipped. It is what you did. Your lilac. If your lilac did not bloom this spring, there is about an 80% chance you pruned it at the wrong time. I know this because I did it myself for 3 consecutive years before someone finally explained it to me. Lilacs bloom on old wood. Last year's growth. The flower buds for next May are forming right now, this week, on the tips of this year's new branches. If you pruned in October, or February, or early March, you cut those buds off. You removed next year's flowers with your own pruning shears, and you had no idea you were doing it. The only safe window to prune a lilac is the 2 to 3 weeks immediately after blooming finishes. That window is right now in most zones, and it is closing fast. Here is what to cut. Remove spent flower clusters by cutting just above the first set of leaves below the flower. Remove any dead or crossing interior branches that are blocking light and airflow. If the bush is overgrown and leggy, you can cut up to 1/3 of the oldest, thickest stems all the way to the ground. This rejuvenates the bush over 2 to 3 seasons, forcing vigorous new growth from the base. A mature lilac can be 12 to 15 feet tall with blooms only at the very top where you cannot see or smell them. That defeats the purpose. Cutting the oldest canes to the ground brings new flowering wood up at eye level and nose level, which is the entire point of owning a lilac. Those clusters of lavender purple flowers in May, the fragrance that carries 30 feet down a sidewalk, that is what you are pruning to protect. But do it now. By mid-July, the new buds are set, and any cut removes them. And here is the thing, this same rule applies to forsythia, weigela, mock orange, and azaleas. All of them bloom on old wood. All of them set next year's buds in the weeks after this year's flowers fade. If you own any of those shrubs and they skipped blooming this year, wrong time pruning is almost certainly why. Prune them all this week or accept another flowerless spring. Your garden mums and asters. This is the one from the hook, the one about flopping sideways in August. Your mums are 12 to 18 inches tall right now, growing fast, looking healthy. you are probably not thinking about them at all. By August, they will be 3 feet tall with bare, leggy stems that splay open like a broken umbrella in the first heavy rain. Every single year. The fix takes 30 seconds. Pinch the top 1/3 of every stem between your thumb and forefinger. Snap it off. That is it. This removes the terminal bud, the one telling the stem to keep growing upward, and forces the plant to branch below the pinch point. Instead of one tall, floppy stem, you get 3 to 4 shorter, sturdier stems, each producing its own cluster of flowers in September. The difference is a compact dome covered in blooms, 18 inches tall, sturdy enough to hold through wind and rain, versus a tall stick with 12 flowers at the top that falls over the moment the weather turns. Mums and asters are zones 3 through 9, full sun to light shade, and they are among the most forgiving perennials you can grow. The only thing they cannot forgive is your neglect in June. You must do this before flower buds form, which means before the 4th of July in most zones. After that, pinching removes the buds you want. 1 pinch per stem, 30 seconds per plant. My husband did not believe me the first year I pinched our mums. He thought I was damaging them. By September, he understood. The pinched plants were half the height, twice the width, and covered in flowers that stayed upright through 3 storms. The unpinched ones in the side yard flopped flat after the first one. 4 tasks down, 4 to go. Everything so far was about ornamental flowers you already planted. What comes next is different. Food you can eat tonight. Color science that takes a full year to show results. And the mistake that kills plants older than your house. The rules change from here. If you planted hardneck garlic last October, your plants are sending up curly green stalks from the center right now. Those are garlic scapes, the flower stems. They start as a tight curl, loop around once or twice, and if left alone, they straighten into a stiff stalk with a flower head at the top. Snap them off at the base where they emerge from the top set of leaves. This redirects all the plant's energy from making a flower into making a bigger bulb underground. You get bulbs 20 to 30% larger just from this one snap. But what most people do not realize is that the scapes themselves are food. Good food. They taste like mild, sweet garlic with a fresh green snap, sautéed in butter with a pinch of salt. They are one of the best things that come out of a June garden. Chopped into stir-fry, blended into pesto that freezes for months, tossed onto a pizza. You are not throwing away waste. You are harvesting a bonus crop that simultaneously improves your main crop. Snap them this week while they are still curled and tender, while they still have that graceful loop shape. Once they straighten out and turn woody, the eating quality drops and the window for redirecting energy to the bulb has mostly passed. My garlic bed is only about 4 feet by 8 feet, zones 4 through 8 for hardneck varieties, full sun. Every June it gives me 2 harvests from the same plants. Scapes now, bulbs in 3 weeks. That is the only edible on this list, and it is the only task where you gain something you can hold in your hand the same day you do the work. Everything else is about setting up a future you will not see for months. The next task takes that idea further than any other. Now, your hydrangeas, those big round mophead clusters in blue or pink or somewhere in between, are blooming or about to bloom right now. If you want to influence flower color for next summer, June is when you act. Blue flowers come from acidic soil with available aluminum. Pink flowers come from alkaline soil, where aluminum gets locked up. If your blue hydrangea has drifted toward muddy purple or washed out pink over the last few seasons, work aluminium sulfate into the soil around the base now, about 1 tablespoon per gallon of water, applied to the root zone. If you want pink, apply garden lime instead. This will not change this summer's flowers. They are already set. The color you see right now was determined by last year's soil conditions. You are adjusting soil chemistry for blooms that will not open for 12 months. This is the one task on this list that operates on a completely different timeline. Everything else gives you results this fall or next spring. This one asks you to think a full year ahead. And this only works on big leaf hydrangeas, the round mophead types, zones 5 through 9. Cone-shaped panicle hydrangeas bloom white or green to pink regardless of what you do to the soil. Their color is genetic, not chemical. A woman down my road spent 2 years trying to turn her panicle hydrangeas blue before someone told her it could not be done with that variety. While you are down at the base of your hydrangeas, spread about 2 inches of compost around the drip line. Hydrangeas are heavy feeders and they're pulling energy fast right now. June compost fuels the rest of the bloom season and builds the soil biology they depend on. Two tasks left. One of them is the mistake that can kill a plant that has been alive longer than your house. The other applies to every single bed in your garden, regardless of what grows in it. Look, if you grow asparagus, this is the week you stop harvesting. After mid-June, every spear that emerges from the ground must be left alone. Let it grow into a tall, feathery fern, 4 to 6 feet of airy green foliage that wave in the wind, all summer zones 3-8 full sun. Do not cut another spear until next April. Those ferns are not decoration, they are the engine. They photosynthesize all summer and all fall, converting sunlight into stored energy in the underground crown. That crown has to produce next April's harvest entirely from reserves built this season. Every spear you cut after mid-June is a withdrawal from an account that is trying to rebuild. The crown gets stronger every year if you let the ferns do their job. A healthy asparagus bed produces thick, tender spears for 20 years, sometimes 30. But gardeners who keep cutting spears through July because they keep appearing, because it seems wasteful to let food go unharvested, those gardeners are mining the reserves faster than the plant can replace them. The harvest gets thinner every season. The spears get skinnier, and 3 years of overcutting can kill a bed that has been productive for 2 decades. I have seen it happen. A neighbor inherited a beautiful asparagus bed that the previous owner had maintained for over 20 years. She did not know the June cutoff rule. She harvested through August because the spears kept coming up, and she thought that meant the plant was offering them. Within 3 seasons, the bed was producing pencil-thin spears. By the 5th year, it was dead. 20-plus years of patient growth gone because nobody told her to stop cutting in June. Let the ferns grow. They will stand through summer and turn golden in fall, and you cut them down after the first hard frost. They are not messy. They are working. The last task applies to every single person watching, regardless of what you grow. Mulch. If mulch did not go down in May, this is the last practical window before summer heat arrives. 2 to 3 inches of shredded bark or wood chips over every bed you have, not touching stems or crowns. Pull the mulch back about 2 inches from the base of each plant to prevent moisture rot against the stem. Mulch applied now over cool, moist June ground holds soil moisture through July and August, so you water half as often, keeps root zones 10 to 15 degrees cooler during heat waves, which matters for every shallow-rooted perennial on this list, suppresses the flush of weed seeds germinating right now in every bare inch of exposed soil. By mid-July, the ground is baked hard and dry in most zones. Mulching over hot, dry soil is far less effective than laying it now while the ground still has spring moisture locked in. The mulch traps what is already there. Wait until the soil is bone dry and you are putting a blanket over a problem instead of preventing one. And here is why I save this for last. Every task you just heard about works better with proper mulch underneath. The iris divisions need consistent moisture while new roots establish. The peony foliage photosynthesizes more efficiently when root zones stay cool. The mums you just pinched will branch faster in moist, temperature-stable soil. Mulch is not a separate chore. It is the foundation that makes every other June task more effective. 8 plants, 8 tasks, 10 days before the window closes on most of them. Everyone takes less than 5 minutes except the iris, and even that is about 20 minutes for a good-sized clump. Your iris that stopped blooming, that was overcrowded rhizomes you did not divide. Your lilac that skipped this year, that was a pruning cut you made at the wrong time. Your peonies that gave you half the flowers, that was foliage you removed before it finished feeding the crown. Your mums that collapsed in August, that was a 30-second pinch you did not make in June. 4 problems from the opening of this video. 4 causes. All timing. or June. If you only do one thing from this list today, divide the iris. That window is the shortest and the payoff is the biggest. If you do two, add the lilac pruning. That prevents the heartbreak of another bloomless year from a shrub that was ready to flower if you had just let it keep its buds. May gets the glory, July gets the labor, but June is when the real decisions happen. The 5-minute tasks nobody talks about that determine whether September is a garden you are proud of or one you are making excuses for. Which of these 8 are you doing first? And if there is a June task I missed, something your garden needs right now that I did not cover, drop it in the comments. That kind of experience helps every gardener watching. I will see you next week.